Hello there, and welcome to this week's edition of Gina Gardiner and Friends. And I'm very excited to be able to introduce Carol Starr to you, who's joining us for this week's show. She's an astrologer, a psychic, and an empath who for over 30 years has worked with people to help them feel more comfortable, to get them unstuck, and to help them feel at peace with themselves and with life. So Carol, a huge welcome. Thank you very much for joining me.
Well, I'm delighted.
So how on earth did you discover that you were a psychic, that you were an astrologer?
Okay, it's not real clear, except when I was young, I loved to study the planets. I was like 8, 9 years old. I'd read everything about the planets. Little did I know I would become an astrologer someday. And how I discovered that I was an empath and feeling, I was also very young. And it's just this is really kind of silly, but I was at a friend's house and I noticed at like I was 11, how her mother didn't treat her right. I felt she didn't pay attention to her. And an 11-year-old wouldn't notice that. So I went home and told my mother, I said, thank you for always listening to me, because I noticed that Alice's mother just doesn't pay attention to her at all and neglects her. And I noticed that. And of course, I didn't know the word empath or psychic or astrologer. Okay, I want you to know those were just out of, and interesting to know today is that I used to do charts mostly on 40 and over, and now I've got Generation X and the beginning millennials are my big market. And they know their sun, moon, right? They know all the basics about astrology. 10 years ago, Gina, they wouldn't have known how to spell astrology, but they're looking for answers, and they find that this is another way to figure out life.
It's interesting, isn't it, that how spirituality in lots of different forms has become part of everyday language now, where previously it was almost, if you did it, you didn't tell other people it was you were exploring your spirituality, because it didn't seem quite right, did it?
Exactly. We are more pragmatic. And I think today, though, we live in a very difficult environment today. Okay, whether all over the world, we're suffering from, inflation, prices going up, unrest everywhere, a lot of crime committed. The world is getting very, very unpeaceful. So not a correct word there. And so people are looking for answers. Come on, how can we get along better in this world? It's really tough, particularly the young people, they're really confused. And I feel that they look to astrology and to the spiritual world to feel better about themselves. And judging from the response I get from doing readings and doing psychic calls, is that they are so grateful to get some help, and they're feeling so desperate. I know it's not out there, and everything looks real rosy if you look at it, but there's a lot of unrest and unhappiness going, more than I think ever before.
Well, I think it's pretty evident that there are many people who are unhappy, in the sense that I know in the UK, and I've said this on the show many times, over half the prescriptions that are filled out every year are for antidepressants. There's been more suicide. Suicide is the most common form of death for young people. And so there is something very fundamentally wrong when those statistics are on the increase.
Right. And in general, I was going to the pharmacy to get a prescription filled. My dad was a pharmacist, and if he filled 35 prescriptions a day, we went out to dinner. There's hundreds and hundreds of prescriptions lining the walls with every kind of diseases that are caused by stress and anxiety, along with the anxiety medication.
Yeah.
So it's like an influx now. Medical care is like, the doctor's offices are full of people looking and not feeling good. There's just we have a lot of challenges today, Gina, a lot.
I think that's true. My own belief is that much of the solution is within us. Getting to know ourselves.
There's no question.
And making great friends, a great relationship with ourselves, I think is pretty crucial. I'd be interested to know how your services, knowing your astrology and knowing having that insight that perhaps someone like yourself can give them can help people create and maintain a loving, positive relationship with themselves.
Right. And also, when doing a chart today, I also suggest I put together a manifestation for people if they need something, their own manifest. I also suggest that they do something like, have you heard of tapping, EFT?
Yes, I've heard of EFT.
I do that. I do that every day. I believe that that helps relieve stress and helps you, it gives you some guidance. Or I suggest that they even do yoga, mind, body, and spirit. Have something in your life where you can go meditate quietly, or you can do one of these things that help you keep centered and focused on your life. Otherwise, everything, we are bombarded with a lot of negativity, and this helps push it away. So it's not just reading the chart, it's figuring out what that person needs. And I don't just read a chart, Gina. I tell, what do you want to know? Do you want to know about relationships? You want to know about your family? Are you having struggles? And that's what I work on when I do a chart. It becomes very personal.
I was asked to give Carol my birth date. My birthday is the 26th of March. I was born in 1953. So for those of you that are out there doing the maths, I'm 69, I'm afraid. And I was born at 8:15 in the morning. Now, why do you need that information?
Okay, first of all, to duplicate your reading in astrology would take 25,000 years. That's how unique you are. And everybody knows their sun sign. If they're interested in astrology, sun goes from one planet to the next on a sign to the next on a regular basis. The moon takes 2.5 days to go from Aries to Taurus to Gemini. And for your rising sign, at the time of birth, that changes every 2.5 hours.
Right.
So that's why you are. And then we have at the other extreme, Pluto takes 25 years to go from Aries to Taurus. So all the planets keep going round and round and round, but at different rates of speed.
Okay, so talk us through the process. You've got
Number one. Okay, let's just say, okay, I do know your sun sign. I don't know your moon and rising because I'd have to look that up. But your sun sign is your basic person, or zodiac sign is your basic personality, your inner drive, who your core is. Your moon sign, which I have to find, is your emotional personality, how you respond emotionally, who you're attracted to, and your food preferences. And one of the things I do is how the sun and moon sign work together, because you're never just one thing in astrology. Then we have your rising sign, which I get from your birth time. And this is how you feel about yourself and the way you show yourself to the outside world. So we have those three, that's the power points of astrology. Example, I'm a Libra. I have a Virgo moon and Virgo rising. So that it takes away from my Libra easygoing personality, and I have that Virgo that worries all the time. Okay. And the rising sign, yes. Okay, so, and that's the basics. And then all the planets are all in zodiac signs and they move at different rates of speed. Does that make sense to you?
It does. You know, presumably they're moving around the sun. They're circulating around.
Exactly. Right. Yes. So the sun takes 28, 31 days. So people know that. So then we have Mercury, Mars, and Venus, and those are the planets that I use to talk about different areas of your life. Mercury, how you communicate. Venus, your love nature, and Mars, your mental, physical, emotional energy. So that those are the basics of actually understanding your personality.
Okay.
And of course, the other planets have other purposes, which we probably won't go into today.
And typically, how long would it take you to create a reading from those pieces of information?
Okay. Well, fortunately today, I get to go on the computer and get your basic chart. I used to do it by hand with math and oh my God. So I have your chart in front of me and it looks like, of course, we can't show the world out there what it looks like.
No,
but you have 12 houses. Yeah. You have 12 houses. Each one represents another area of your life. And the planets all fall into these houses, and how they relate is how I determine all about what's going on in your life, how you feel about life, and what I feel a good direction for you is. And then where the planets are today, I can tell you about the trends I don't predict definite things, but the trends for the coming year. So you get to know who you are, who you're compatible with, and what's going to be happening and anything else you want to know.
Okay, so I'd just like to explore what do you say is the difference between being an astrologer and being a psychic?
Well, a psychic for me, okay, I don't do names, dates, and places. I get feelings. Like when I get psychic calls on the psychic line, I hear the voice and I have to think quick because they want to get off in a few minutes because a lot of people don't want to pay too much. And I have to be able to answer their question like that. And I go by their voice, their intonation, and just what I'm feeling by what they're saying. Astrology is more pragmatic. I have to look at the chart, and that's a whole different, that's a longer process. Psychic, you better be fast, okay? Because they're counting on me to do that. So I talk very fast. That's maybe why I'm talking so fast today.
If I can clarify that when you're doing astrology, there is a basic template, if you like, where you are looking
Yes,
where things fit. Whereas
exactly.
when you're
Perfect.
acting as a psychic, then you're tuning in to what information you are being given or
Exactly.
sent or
Yes.
however
And
it
then
is.
there's the empathic nature that's coming out. What do I feel? Like, what do I feel today when I'm looking at you? What kind of a person are you? And I see a lot of kindness in your eyes, your heart, the way you talk, that you have a gentle spirit, even though you're an Aries and you like to be first, you like to go make things happen. And you also take care of details. Or you actually, I'm sorry, you probably have somebody who's very good at the details. It helps you out with that too. Yeah.
I can do the detail, I have to say. It's not what I enjoy. I like the
I know.
bigger
I would
picture.
know that. I know that immediately by talking to you and also by knowing you're an Aries.
Well, if you the bit that I know about the Aries is that they're bossy, and that's definitely I like to be somebody who is helping and in control, I have to say.
You are in charge, okay? You are in charge person, yes.
So imagine I'm decided I want to work with you, Carol, and you've read my chart. So you've got a lot of information. No doubt you picked up at a psychic level and also at an empathic level what's going on. How do you then use that to help people move on with their lives and to find peace?
I first have to know what you want. I have to feel you out. What are you looking for in life? So I look at the chart, I look at all the basics, and I go through the different houses, and I will find very often, like, let's say your work is very important to you. I'll find a lot of planets in that house. And I need to make this all work. It's almost hard to explain. It's about, I know where your emotions lie, and I just instinctively know what's holding you back. I know what your problems are. And so I dig into that. And the first thing I want to give you is confidence. And I spend a lot of time when I start a reading, I'll say, okay, Gina, I know what's important to you. You told me you want to know about a relationship you're in. You feel negative about it or difficulty, and you want some help with your work. So I look at the relationship and I look at the two charts. And I say, you're a lot more aggressive than your partner. And I have a feeling, my feeling from this in your chart, that maybe this relationship should be reevaluated. I don't feel like you're being treated the way you want to be. And it'll just sort of pour out. And with the work, I'll see there's a lot of planets in the house that you need to love your work. I feel you don't. You need to have the surroundings you want. You should have beautiful surroundings, colors you want, make it feel good. And if you have coworkers, you need to really work harder at not buying into everything they say. Because I'll see on there that they're way too sensitive and they're picking up way too much energy. And that's a lot for my calls. I do that too. People call up, I don't get along with my coworkers. Why? I said, because you're expecting too much from them. Are they ruining your job? Are they doing? No. Then you just kind of have to figure out a way to back off and not buy into their craziness. So they're so different, Gina. It's so hard. I'll look at it. I hear the person. And unfortunately, I don't get to see them and talk to them. I have to figure out by their chart and a few words they tell me. And on the phones, I just have a voice. And I don't know what it is that works for me, but it works. The words just seem to pour out of my mouth, and I look, I think, and they'd say, "Thank you, you helped me so much," because my heart is in it. I think because I am looking at that person, they don't see me, and They see me, I don't see them. And I'm hoping that I'm reaching them and making them feel better. And with that feeling, I seem to do it.
You know,
Is that okay? I mean, it's
one of the things that strikes me is, and certainly I work a lot with clients, both as individuals and with business leaders. And one of the things that strikes me as being so common today is that people do not feel seen or heard. And I think maybe that one of the things that makes what you do work well is that people feel truly seen and heard and validated, because for most people, having somebody spend time specifically on them, listening to what they want, actually asking the question, what do you want? And so many people know what they don't want rather than what they do want. But having that question and then the opportunity for somebody to expand on that in a structured way, I can see why people would find that very helpful.
Yes, and I always say that I'm here for you. I'm here to help you. Please make it, let's work this out together. And I think that I had never really thought about it in the terms you said. I feel like I'm just there and I'm helping them, but I guess that they feel special because, you know, I find, just to get off the topic a little bit, I'm with a group of people yesterday, or I'm with them. I know so much about them and they rarely ask me about me. People don't even care today. They don't want to know what I'm doing. They don't care about it. They just want to talk small talk and this and that. And so when I have somebody who asks me a question, I go, oh, they asked me a question. I mean, I'm really excited about it, you know? And so I don't usually offer too much information because I feel like people want to know something, they're going to show they care in one way or another. And they don't, you know, except for my very close friends, of course. But I'm talking people in general, friends I see on occasion and stuff. They really don't, you know, I guess, and I imagine other people feel the very same way.
You know, there's a real lesson here. And if you're listening to this, then I would say to you, actively listening, you know, truly being interested, being in that moment, not with half of your attention on the phone or on the television or on something else that you're doing, but really focusing on the person that you're with and listening, not only to what's said, but how it's said, listening to the breath, listening to the silences. I believe that's one of the biggest gifts that you can give to anybody. And the outcome of doing that is that relationships will be significantly improved. And I think you just proved that.
Yes, that's so true. Yeah. And I still feel like that at being an empath, I do everything you say. I pay attention to people, how their eyes are going, talking to me. What are they saying? What are they really feeling? And I walk into a room and I get a burst of emotions from all the people. I feel it. And so, but I've always been interested in people. I want to know why. Why are they doing this? What do they feel? What's going on? Because sometimes they feel like they just move from one step to another. They go play cards with their friends. They go to bed at night. They cook a meal. They do. I have to get something more out of life. I have to have friends that I can talk to and share what I feel and also help them. You know, so I do know how important that is. And I hadn't thought about this in your words exactly, but now that you do that, sort of enlightens really just the realization of listening to people makes them love you. I mean, they makes them feel important and caring. And I think that I will work on that even more when I particularly when on my psychic hotline that I'm on, is that I have to really let people know that I'm going to help them and give them all I can, because I mean it. I don't just do readings because I want to get the money, though I do like making money too, you know. Yeah, we all have to pay our bills, don't we? Yes, we all have to pay our bills. Yes. So, but it's for the love of, I am so grateful at this time in my life to be able to do this full time, you know, and to be able to help people. Like, I'm just like, I wake up in the morning with excitement for what's going to happen for the day.
So where can people find you?
They can find, I have two main sources. I don't want to confuse. And one of them is called Everclear, everclear.com/Carol S. And that is where I do my psychic readings and the empath readings. And then on, if I can write it down somewhere, thrills.co.uk. Oh, I'll tell you, they can go to I'm an influencer on TikTok. Oh my God. That's where my business comes from. It's fabulous. And my name on there is AstroStar, ASTROSTARR, with the number 4 after it. And I have my links on there, and they can also see my videos and learn about some of the things that I do.
That sounds brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me. If you'd like to get hold of me, you can get hold of me at Gina at genuinely-u.com. That's genuinely-u.com. My website, one of them at least, is the same name, genuinely-u and the word u.com. I'd love to hear from you. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram and also on Facebook. Carol, thank you so much for joining me today. And I'd like to say to all of those of you who are listening, please tune in to the next Gina Gardiner and Friends show. We'd love to have you there. Thank you very much for joining me. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.